Oh, I am so stupid. I am so freaking stupid. Sorry, everybody. I went on that. I was talking for like 3 minutes, but I forgot to add myself. I do sincerely apologize. Okay. Hello, everybody. Um, sorry. Let's get back to the top here. Hello, horse racing fans, and welcome to the Breeders' Cup discussion. So this is going to be where we get to talk about the Breeders' Cup Championships. 14 races, 14 categories of horse, all competing on the biggest stage. This year at Del Mar in California. We'll be seeing horses from born in 5 different continents. What thing? Did I say horse racing fans or Breeders' Cup? But so what's important is that horses born from California all the way to Australia are going to be competing on one stage, and that is Del Mar Racecourse. Now, isn't that exciting? So we have 14 races to really talk about here. We can talk in whatever order we really want. At some point, I have a few ideas of what we can do, talking about the races I know best and ones I know worst, and also possibly opening it up to the floor, having a sort of, what's the word, kind of a call-in, like a live call thing, where I send a link and people can join and ask one question, kind of like, one of those like call shows. I forget what they're called anyway, but that's just an idea if anyone is interested. So, Colin sounds sick. Yeah. So I won't do it now, but I will do it later. What's up, Michelle? So I guess for the starters, on Friday on Halloween, so dress up in your best costume. Maybe even a cosplay. We can we will be looking at the stars of tomorrow: the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, the Juvenile Turf Fillies, the Turf Sprint, and then the Juvenile and Juvenile Fillies. Now, out of these races, personally, I have not really been following along. But I guess we might as well start somewhere. So we'll start with the most badly organized, and that is the Juvenile Turf Sprint. The Juvenile Turf Sprint is the youngest of the currently active Breeders' Cup races, and it's also the shortest. I think this year it's going to be 5 furlongs, which is about 1 kilometer. So, yeah, it's kind of blink and you'll miss it. We have 12 horses that will be in the gates, but also 5 horses who are going to be kind of pinch hitting, also eligibles. If one of those horses scratches before the scratch-off time, they get in. First time watching the Breeders' Cup? Welcome along! Yeah, I'll be here to answer any and all queries about the Breeders' Cup. In general. So, yeah, if anyone has any questions, if you're watching the Breeders' Cup for the first time, gladly send them my way. But I guess we might as well start with the first race. That is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. So, first up, there's Brussels. So we have a pair of British horses. It says here on Brussels that he has only won a single time, but he was second in the Grade 1 Middle Park Stakes, which is one of the premier juvenile races in England. So that's kind of so not a bad race to lose. And then since then he was second in a G3 only 2 weeks later, both at Newmarket, which is one of the most important racetracks in England. So seems like a nice horse. The morning line, which is basically the predicted initial odds. Yeah, all of these races are international races, which means they're open for basically any racing country to participate. Sci-Fair, that is a good one to know. I'll try and breeze through this one so that we can get to the ones that we know more about. Military Code is number 2. Whoops. A bit of a fat finger there. Accidentally deleted, got rid of the screen. Yes, the real Breeders' Cup. That is the real Breeders' Cup. Let me just get to where I'm supposed to be. There we go. All right. So, Military Code. He's the number 2 horse. There he is right there, nice and Godolphin. Godolphin, of course, being an absolute powerhouse. Hello, the Lego Bob. So, military code, he has... he won his first 2 races. Didn't do well at Ascot in the Coventry stage, which is kind of the first big race for 2-year-olds in England. So, he didn't do so great there. Since then, he has had 2 seconds in listed stakes companies, so those races were not graded. You want to win a G1, but G1s are rare. So he's definitely going into deeper waters. He's morning line at 12-1. Number 3 is Royal Testament. This is the first of our American representatives. Royal Testament is a filly going against the boys. So some might consider that kind of intimidating, but at this kind of level, when these horses are so young and they're running so short, it might actually be to the benefit what's the word here? To run a filly in this race. And also, fillies have won the juvenile turf sprint before. In 2021, which was at Del Mar, Twilight Gleaming won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. So a mare, or filly in this case, can win this race. So don't discount a horse just because of their gender at the 2-year-old level, because it's a lot fairer then. In fact, actually, some fillies grow earlier. If there's going to be a Triple Crown next year, frankly, that is a mystery that we will be solving a few months from now. For now, I think it's way too early to tell. And I don't even think that it's even considered a real serious talking point until after the Kentucky Derby concludes. Then we really know if we may have even an iota of a chance of a Triple Crown horse. But for now, we just got a bunch of young horses who gotta work through the weeds, for lack of a better word. Will you talk about the Melbourne Cup? Not yet. I'll consider it if enough people want it, but I'm definitely not super prepared for the Melbourne Cup. But if people want, I can. Back to number 3, focusing on her. Royal Testament. She is... Oh, she ran at Colonial Downs in Virginia. That's interesting. She most recently ran in the Matron, which is a major race for 2-year-old fillies in New York. Kind of the major stepping stool for what would be this race. She came second. Now she's going to be aiming for a victory. Someone said Obliteration is very confusing. Yeah, we can talk about them. Obliteration is another Kentucky horse. They're trained by Steve Asmussen, who is someone with a laundry list of star horses, like Curlin and Rachel Alexandra. Here. Pretty much Spectre. So for Obliteration, this is an odd one, because Obliteration actually started their career on dirt. This is not usually how this goes. But, Obliteration won the Sanford Stakes. The Sanford Stakes is considered an important dirt race for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But then Obliteration went onto the grass after finishing second in the Saratoga Special, which is a grade 2. And since then, he's been second in 2 major 2-year-old sprints, the Juvenile Sprint at Kentucky Downs and the Indian Summer. So he clearly can run on both surfaces, which is kind of interesting. Have to have a see ya. Take care. So Obliteration is going to be kind of an interesting horse because he's a dual surface horse. You don't see that very often. I'm curious of what he'll have to offer. Aspect Island and Intricate Spirit. Intricate Spirit won the Futurity, which is kind of like the male version of the Matron. So that's a very good race to win if you're a 2-year-old horse, at least in America. So we get that horse who ran in that major space, Intricate Spirit. Aspect Island, another British horse. Bit of a long shot here. Last time they ran, they actually lost behind, I believe it was the number 1, Brussels. Or Military Code, I don't fully remember. But they finished 3rd in that race, and now they come here. Britain seems to for the turf races, Britain overloads on us because even a B plus British horse can win an American race. Heck, even a C plus horse really can do it. So that's something to kind of think about. Is that the British horses are kind of just born for this. While pedigrees are not the end-all, be-all when it comes to predicting horse capabilities, I'm curious if you're going to go over the pedigrees. I'm not as much a pedigree expert, but if you want kind of names that kind of blast off the page, Brussels and Military Code are behind the recently deceased but very important sire, Wootton Bossett. So there's going to be a lot of sentimentality if he wins. Wootton Bossett was a super sire, but he passed away this year. So that'll be a major win for them. It's also kind of hard to tell sometimes because there are some horses here that I notice that, you know, have versatile sires. Like, Obliteration is by a horse named Violence. And Violence was... Well, when he raced, he won his Grade 1 race on the synthetic, but he was meant to be a dirt horse. And in terms of leading runners, Forte, Dr. Shivel, Mulligan, and No Parole and Volatile, all of these horses are sprinters, but dirt sprinters specifically. So he's yet to throw as much on the, for lack of a better word, the turf. He produces fast horses, but Obliteration, if I had to have made a wager, probably should have been running on the dirt, but he's such a sprinter that I guess they're just compensating. See, they're by a horse named I'm Classy Sassy on the mother's side. That might be an indicator of some of their turf ability. Okay, here you are. They're a stakes placer, and they were second in the sorority. And let me just check. Is the sorority stakes a turf race? Nope, it's a dirt race. So, a dirt pedigree, but they're built for the turf. I'd say winning a juvenile race can mean anything, but depending on the scale of their competition could show how good they'll be. The other thing also to really keep in mind about juvenile racing is that the horse who wins now will probably not be the best horse in May. Regularly, horses just kind of grow up since those kinds of races, and they get stronger. And the horses who were the best at the time either peaked too early or just aren't as strong as the other horses just grow bigger than them. For some early favorites, Havana Anna, this horse has ran in Ireland, England, and France already in their very short career. Second in a G3 and a G1, the Cheverly Park Stakes. Yeah, this is a pretty tough filly. Any horse who's a G1 shower in England is going to be pretty strong in America. So I see why Havana Anna's morning line is 6-1. Currently, though, the favorite is another filly, True Love. True Love, this horse has a pretty darn good record. I mean, Aidan O'Brien always brings strong horses to America. Okay. Sorry about that. So True Love, this horse has definitely been, like, kind of the talk of the town. Like, I guess just looking at her, she's a very typical Aidan O'Brien horse, and then you just look at her record, and it kind of speaks for itself here, because this horse has ran 6 times, and when she's not first, she's second. She won the Queen Mary, which is the major race at Ascot. Royal Ascot's where the first 2-year-olds really show themselves in England, so for her to win that, pretty impressive. Then after that, she won the Railway, was second in the Phoenix, which is a Grade 1 race, so not too bad, and I think that was also against males, so that's another thing to really consider. And then there's the Cheverly Park, which is a Group 1. So, definitely the most talented horse so far in her budding career, but we're just gonna have to see, really. Minihawk, a little bit. I mean, they're by the same person. They're trained by the same guy. So there is a lot to really consider with this horse. Um, the one thing I do have to also kind of talk about is that Aiden O'Brien regularly kind of hypes up his horses. And it's kind of important to kind of realize that he does it with everyone. Like, he'll say that Mini Hawk is one of the best he's ever trained, but he says that every year, because every year he gets a superstar. So, do keep that in mind when talking about it when it comes to Aiden O'Brien. He's for lack of a better word, a real marketer, a marketing machine. He knows he knows that people take his word like the Bible, and that he can kind of say whatever he wants. Find it hard for anyone to beat her? I kind of agree. Like, I guess another horse here, Cyfair, another American horse. They won their stake race at Woodbine, which isn't considered the cream of the crop for these kinds of races. Like, I guess the other thing to think about is that while True Love is going to be really hard to beat here, this race is 5 furlongs. Anything can and will go wrong, and at this distance, just pure speed can get you very far. So there is a possibility that some horse just kind of beats them to the word jump. Guess another example of a really fast horse here, Schwarzenegger. He's trained by Wesley Ward, who's a guy who has trained American horses to win juvenile races in England. He's one of the few kind of successful American trainers in England, or American-based trainers, I should really say. Schwarzenegger, 5.5 furlongs on the turf. Fun fact, actually, when Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor of California, he actually presented the trophy for the Breeders' Cup Classic in 2008. It's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. He has got that silver tongue. Guess for the last of the horses in this field, there is Linaloo, who's another filly. Linaloo, alright, very experienced. This one's an interesting one. Linaloo is trained by Patty Biancone. You don't hear that very often. Patty Biancone has a long history of training good horses. His daughter, Andy Biancone, exercise rider and analyst at FanDuel. I've met her. She's a lovely woman. Patty Biancone he's trained a lot of pretty great horses, but easily the best of them all was All Along, who won 4 major turf races in a matter of just a month. She won the Arc, she won the Man of War, she won the Washington, D.C. International, and she won the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic. You know what? Let's get a picture of her right now because, let's see, what does she look like? Oh, this is a nice little gray horse. All right, so here's Linaloo, Florida bred. She started her career precociously running in the early baby races at Gulfstream Park. There, she took their early big races, was third in the Queen Mary to True Love, so we're getting a little bit of a rematch here, but this time in America on a different I believe this race could prove to be a barnstormer in terms of pure speed. As he said, it's over 5 furlongs. Anything can and will happen. Speed is the name of the game. I've seen some ridiculous speed come out of this race. Speed that kind of scared me. Especially when, like, Golden Pal was running. Golden Pal was something else. One of the best turf sprinters we've ever had, but he was just so one-dimensional. That was his big problem. He was fast, but he kind of wasn't smart. Linaloo is definitely a nice, cute little horse. But, I mean, she's been really taking advantage of her group, because she's been running in, Florida-bred races mostly. She can obviously compete with the best of them. I mean, she ran the Queen Mary, so she's taken on the best in England, come to their turf, and made it work. But she has also been kind of coasting on being a Florida-bred at the moment. So this is going to be a bit of an ask for Linaloo, but I'm interested to see what happens. There's all these also eligibles, but for now I won't worry too much about them. But they do get in if one of these horses scratches, which, as we've seen with some of the chaos that's happened in the last couple of, well, frankly, hours, Good night. In the last couple of hours, any of these horses could get in. Then on the other side of it, we have the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. So the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, most people are going to be paying attention to the number 5 horse, Tommy Joe. Tommy Joe is technically undefeated, but with a big kind of asterisk around that, because Tommy Joe actually finished second in the Alcibiades, but was badly checked by the horse who crossed the wire first, and won the race by disqualification, because Percy's Bar very badly bumped her. The thing is, though, if you watch the race, it's very clear that she was not winning it. She was absolutely exhausted, and would have fallen out of the race and been defeated anyway, just that, lucky her, she got hit. So, Tommy Joe, her morning line puts her at 7-2. I consider that a load of hokey. I think that Percy's Bar, who did end up defeating her, is a much more credible horse. I mean, she got back, she got revenge on her, and also the Alcibiades, I believe, is a longer race than the Spinaway at 1 1/16, so it's closer to Breeders' Cup distance. Meanwhile, the Spinaway Stakes is 7 furlongs. 7 furlongs is a long sprint. Tommy Joe, I personally believe that she's going to be a good filly sprinter, but I think this race is going to prove that they need to shorten up on her, because I don't think she can go 2 turns, even. Because that was the first time that Tommy Joe was asked to go around 2 turns, and it really kind of tired her out. So, Tommy Joe, I think, is the easiest horse to disregard. Percy's Bar, of course, seems interesting. Battle of Rouge. Anything ridden by Mike Smith, trained by Bob Baffert. This is the local horse. Bob Baffert is dangerous anywhere, but I will also say that Bob Baffert has kind of had a rough year this year. A lot of horses that he expected to fire have not. Of course, he has gotten Grade 1 wins, but just compared to some of his more recent efforts, this year has been kind of a weak one for Baffert. Last year, he had, quite a few really strong horses. National Treasure was a heck of a horse during the few times he did race. But, besides Hope Road stepping up in the Ballerina Stakes, most of the horses that were expected to do big things so far kind of haven't. He has a few good ones, like Cavalieri, who we sadly will not see in the Breeders' Cup. Nisos is a good horse, but, he gets injured too often. And then Seismic Beauty is alright. She's pretty good. But, everyone had high expectations for Barnes, Rodriguez, Citizen Bull in the Kentucky Derby, and all 3 have really tanked. In fact, the best 3-year-old he has didn't even run in the Kentucky Derby, Nevada Beach. That too, his horses haven't really been able to stay healthy enough to, for lack of a better word, to do anything, especially Nisos. Nisos is such a pocket rocket, but he just can't stay healthy. Frankly, I kind of can't wait for that horse to retire. I really just don't like wasting my hope on unsound horses. I'd rather a less talented but reliable horse. Explora, yes. Explora was actually the favorite for Baffert in the debutante, but she lost to her stablemate, who was kind of an outside choice. And then she bounced back to win the Oakleaf Stakes by about 4 lengths, although it was mostly just against Baffert's other horses. So she did what she was supposed to do, but I don't think she's really fully risen to the occasion. Baffert has had good fillies, some even great fillies, like Silver Bullet Day was a monster back in the day, but, in recent years, I feel like he's tailed off a little bit. He had some great ones at the start of the decade, like Gamine, and, even a Dairy Manor actually was pretty good, but yeah, Nisos is one of those examples of raw talent with a champagne glass. Any personal favorites? I'm not really a huge fan of 2-year-old horses. It's not because of moral detestment. Like, I support 2-year-old racing, but it's because they're 2-year-olds, they're kind of just mysteries. Horses that are usually really good at 2 aren't super great at 3. So I kind of just look at these guys like high schoolers, and I'm more excited for the college players. Like, it's been a long time since I've been genuinely really excited about a 2-year-old. It's always when they turn 3 that I start to really believe the hype. I think the last time I was really excited for a 2-year-old was, I'm really going back here. Nyquist, actually. I think Nyquist was the last 2-year-old I really got excited for. And Nyquist was a 2-year-old 10 years ago. So that kind of tells you all you need to know about what I think of 2-year-old horses. Like, good job, kids, but, wait till you get to the big leagues. Yeah, Tommy Joe, though, is the exact kind of 2-year-old I don't like. So, forget her. If there's any other horse here that seems to have a morning line chance, people seem to really like Iron Orchard. Iron Orchard is undefeated and won the Frizette. So, this is interesting because this is a New York bred. New York breds, New York may have a lot of races and, be a major hub for horse racing, but when you think of horses actually born in New York, the amount of champions you get is a lot smaller than you'd think. It's not too tiny. New York has had a Kentucky Derby winner in Funnyside. I don't know if it's just my familiarity, but it seems like the Japan horses that win stuff, like the Asahihei Futurity and the Hopeful Stakes, seem to do well as older horses too. You're not wrong. Most recently we have Regalira, who won the 2023 Hopeful Stakes and then won the 2024 Irima Kinen. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's run in December instead of November, but something about Japan's training, 2-year-olds seem to better translate to being 3-year-olds in Japan, but in America it's not the same way. But in terms of New York breds, New York has produced Breeders' Cup horses before, looking at the list here. London Bridge won the Marathon, which is no longer a Breeders' Cup race. Day at the Spa, who was a great, consistent turf filly for a long time, won the Filly and Mare Turf, and Bar of Gold won the Filly and Mare Sprint at 60-1. So 3 New York breds have won a Breeders' Cup race, but never a juvenile race. But this year, honestly, has been... Yes, Deduce also, great catch. Deduce was a monster. But where I was going with this is that New York has yet to win a Breeders' Cup juvenile race. But also, it's been a while since we've had talented New York breds like this. The Frizette is an open race. It's supposed to be for anybody to participate, but a New York bred just so happens to win it very convincingly. Well, not convincingly. She won by a nose. But the horse that she won by a nose, Riley Toll, they were 4 lengths ahead of the rest of the field, so it was kind of a 2-horse race. She won't have to worry about Riley, but she will have to worry about this. Barely winning over a long shot does kind of raise some concern, but we'll see what happens, really. I think it'd be interesting. So there's that. But I think anyone could win this. The Juvenile Fillies Turf, this is a race that I know literally nothing about. But it seems as though, unsurprisingly, an Aidan O'Brien horse is going to be the talk of the town. Okay, I think I've heard of Precise before. She's this... If you look at her, she's really beautiful. If I'm thinking of it... Yep, this is it. Yeah, she's a looker. She's got this bright star. Let me see if I can find something other than Blood Horse that has her pictures. There, that's a better one. Isn't that a looker? She has such a huge star. Kind of a small, kind of cute face for a horse. But she's flighty. She looks like she could kind of float over the ground a little bit. Not very big, but, has a powerful engine and can kind of fly over the earth. I mean, I see why people are excited about this horse, and I mean, how can you not? I mean, when you look at the record, it's frankly monstrous. Looking at her record, she's won 4 or 5 races, and the races that she's won are grade ones. The Moyglare Stud and the Fillies Mile are some of the most important races in both Ireland and England. So, that's 2 countries that she's really conquered here. So, can she add a third one? I mean, it's hard to kind of bet against her, but you don't really know with these kinds of horses. But she's been hot. She's been on fire, really. I guess if there's anyone that people are saying, Time to Dream. Okay, I remember this one. Yeah, I remember the name. Definitely a very sentimental name. I mean, she's by a great stud. Not This Time, is a super sire who can kind of produce anything you want. I don't like the fact that they sent her to the US, but I will be supporting Longshot Switch in Love. Yeah, so I will admit, I was excited last year for the Japanese horses to run, but especially in the juvenile races, that was a real splash of cold water. I mean, none of them even got close to doing anything good. I mean, the only good Japan horses that have done well in the Breeders' Cup have been the older ones. And I mean, Switch in Love, her record, it's just 1 win on the turf, and then she was second in a stake race. Frankly, I don't know how Japanese form can sometimes be a total crapshoot in terms of throwing it over into America. She has a contrail kid. She has good breeding, but I mean, I need to look at the let me just look at the Breeders' Cup stats, because I mean, they had a couple of juveniles last year that ran in the juvenile races. I think they had a horse for all but 1 race in last year's Breeders' Cup. And I know almost all of them didn't do well, but looking at it, let's see, American Bikini, they ran in the juvenile fillies. Since that race, they have only won a single time. Okay, that's not encouraging at all. Let's see. I'm looking at this on another screen. That's why it's looking at right now, Juvenile Fillies Turf. Yes, we're looking at the Juvenile Fillies Turf briefly. Admittedly, the juvenile races are definitely the ones where I provide the least amount of insight, because these are the horses that I follow the least, and also, I mean, they're also, they're juveniles, so there's less races to really talk about. To boot here. So there's Filliamere Turf. I'm trying to find if they... Okay, here we go. Here's another juvenile horse that they sent over. Satono Carnival. Is that spelt wrong? That's interesting. Satono Carnival from the, Satono family. I think that's familiar to the lot of you. I know March Lorraine was the first, and so far, I think, only Japanese trained horse to win an overseas G1 dirt race when she won the BC Distaff. Overseas, in America, yes, but they have won overseas grade 1 races on dirt in other countries. The Korea Cup is a grade 1 locally in their country. And also, I mean, Ushba Tesoro won the Dubai World Cup in Dubai. And this year, Forever Young won the Saudi Cup in Saudi Arabia. So on the dirt, Japan has conquered the very best in Asia, but America, it's not so simple. Satono Carnival, after running in the Breeders' Cup, has yet to win a race. They did run in the NHK Mile Cup, but they lost. They haven't really run since June. So, honestly, I think shipping a horse this early in their life in Japan doesn't seem to be fruitful. The best horses in Japan are waiting for the Asahihei Futurity or the Hopeful Stakes or the Hanshin Juvenile Fillies, anyway. They were talking about dirt, but yes, for American races overall, Cesario was the very first. She kind of kicked the door down and proved it was possible. And then after her, Love's Only You won the filly and mare turf. Love's Only You was probably one of the best horses on paper that they sent to run in the Breeders' Cup. March Lorraine was a complete shock. No one could have guessed she was going to do it. Like, I had no idea. And, I mean, she was an experienced dirt horse, but you couldn't have known that she was going to win that race. But that race was also so wonkily run anyway. All that to say that Switch and Love, I believe, has no chance to win. And you can quote me on that and hold me to it. If you're at the Breeders' Cup, you can tell me, suck it, when she wins, if she does. But it seems like this is going to be Precise's world and we're living in it. Last year, they took a horse to the Breeders' Cup, Juvenile Fillies Turf. And that horse was also really strong, like just as strong as Precise, maybe even better. I forget what her name was. I think it was Lake Victoria. I mixed her up with Victoria Road. And Lake Victoria went on to win the Irish 1,000 Guineas. So Lake Victoria went on to be... I mean, she wasn't as dominant as she was at 2, but she's only lost 1 time in 7 career starts. She's been a bit of hiatus, but in her brief career, she has done a lot. I want March Lorraine and Uma Musume. She's my most wanted horse that actually has a chance at being added. That's a fair point. Doesn't make much sense otherwise for Switch and Love to make the trip. Some horses mature quicker at 2. That is fair, but also you just don't really know. I'd say Japan should hold off on the juvenile races in BC and wait for the 3-year-olds. I would agree. Japan's horses aren't the best 2-year-olds. They get better with age. In general, Japan, like, the way they breed, the way they train, seems to promote having even the most valuable race horses and studs race as older horses. Have a chance to do it. So you get to really see horses fill out, for lack of a better term. I'm just going to quickly go over the juvenile turf itself physically. This race I also don't have too much thoughts on unless someone else has a major thing they want to throw out there. Seems like the big horse here is G-Stad, a horse I've never even heard of. But G-Stad was second in the Dewhurst and the O'Brien National, which are 2... He's been second in 3 consecutive Grade 1 races in 3 different countries. He was second in a G1 in France, Ireland, and England. So I don't know how they usually do in America, but Japan usually sends pairs of horses. Japan usually loses when it comes to sending horses to America, but when they bring their very best, they have a shot. But, it really does take a monster Japan horse to even the score. That's what, we've learned. If there's a horse that I actually like just off of the name alone, Hey Nene, because that's one of my nicknames. So he's very likable, and he's also already won at Del Mar. He's by a good sire. And also, I do like the owners. I've met the owners, Horonis Racing, many a time, and they've always been so nice to me. So it'd be nice for them to win a Breeders' Cup race. So for sentimentality, Hey Nene, absolutely. American horses are better on the juvenile turf? Well, let's take a look. I think for the juvenile turf sprint, there's a small chance that we win. It seems our best Kentucky horses are Argos and Bodas. I'm not counting Hey Nene as an American horse because he's Irish-born. Argos, okay, here we go. Argos won the Summer Stakes, which is a Canadian Grade 1. So, not a bad race to win. The field came up a little weak in that race, if I'm being honest. I watched it. It wasn't a convincing win either, but he did beat the Irish Invader, albeit barely. So, he is a Grade 1 winner, and he is by a sire who produces precocious horses. Hey Nate. So yeah, yes, Hey Nay Nay is Irish born, but he's trained in America. He would not be a good Derby horse. He's a turf horse, and they should keep him there. He's also by a sprinter sire, No Nay Never. So Argos, he's all right, and then there's Bodas. Let's see what he's done. He's undefeated, and he won the Pilgrim, which is the most important prep race for the juvenile turf. So about as typical as you get. You're right. Here's Johnny would be a great name. Oh no! Here's Johnny. Ironically, though, he's never won a race. It's so weird because he's a stakes participant. He's good in stakes races. Second at Saratoga, second in the Pilgrim behind the horse we previously just talked about. But he just doesn't win. Actually, looking back on it, has a maiden ever won? Oh, yes. Good Magic, who had never won a race before, won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So it wouldn't be history, but it would still be kind of interesting if a maiden won his first race and it was the Breeders' Cup. So that's something. Last of all, this is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. This is the smallest race of the group. In fact, it's actually been scratched down to a field of 7 because Civil Liberty, who was one of the longest shots on the board to begin with, he had a swelling and he's out. So it's only 7 horses, but there is still a real story to be had here. So the 2 horses that everyone's going to be talking about, and the ones that I know best, are Brant and Ted Noffey. So Brant is Baffert's big horse. There are 14. There are 14 Breeders' Cup races. So Brant is, honestly, I think he's kind of ugly. Brant is a $3 million 2-year-old. One of the loftiest and rich, like, most expensive horses that Bob Baffert has purchased. And frankly, when it comes to Baffert, his best horses are never the most expensive ones. I've learned that the hard way. He had a $3.7 million horse named Kazane. He couldn't even win like $500,000. So like, it's always the horses that at most are like $500,000, like Justify, or even his cheaper horses. Like Medina Spirit was once sold for $1,000, and Medina Spirit crossed the wire first in the Kentucky Derby. Even if he didn't keep it officially, he is still the horse who was first across the line in the Derby. Real Quiet, who was a nose away from winning the Triple Crown for Bob Baffert, was only $17,500, or I think 17 even, $17,000. So it's the cheaper ones that do good, not Brant. Also, for being $3 million, you could have probably demanded a better looking horse, because when he runs, he has his leg. Hello, Dennis Trusty. We're talking Breeders' Cup. I think it's better if I just show you. But in the Del Mar Futurity, for example, in this, like, he has this tendency to kind of wing out when he races. So, like, if you look closely at his races, if we get past the stupid freaking ad for Indeed, give me a break. I'm also too cheap for premium. If you look at this race, his leg kind of goes wide. It's a little hard to tell with the video quality here, but whenever he races, he has his leg, see right here, his leg is kind of wide. Like, it kind of fans out. It doesn't run straight. His legs are very spread apart. Compared to, say, Desert Gate, like right here, you see how, you notice here, his legs are nice and close together and they're running relatively straight. But here, his are so wide and they're kind of winging out. So you'd think that for $3 million, you'd get a horse who moved a little better. Just saying. Um, so he doesn't really inspire confidence. He's only done what he's supposed to do. I'm actually sick of looking at Breeders' Cup. Not a metaphor. I have a headache from looking at these races. Well, then I think you gotta lay down, man. You gotta get your head in the game for when it's time. But, like, yeah, so that's Brant. Ted Noffey, named after Ned Toffee. He's so far not made any mistakes. Admittedly, the Breeders' Futurity was not the toughest race in the world. I mean, it had a major horse in it taken out. But, you know, he kind of breezed by. Litmus test, he was okay. Guess is looking at here. I mean, Ted Noffey is a nice, pretty horse. That is fair, he is. And, I mean, Baffert did have Citizen Bull win last year's Breeders' Cup. The one horse, though, that I think is the most likable of the group is I think it's Intertorpedo. I'm totally butchering that. I need to look at it again. Where's my burrito? Intrepido. There you go. Thank you. Intrepido. This race is so funny to me because in it, Baffert enters 4 of the 6 horses in the race. This is supposed to be a payday for Bob Baffert. He's won this race a million times. The race is named after the horse he trained himself. This is supposed to be a coronation. And yet, the horse who wins is the one of 2 horses that's not. And I can't stop laughing about it. And it was also just a good race. Like, Intrepido, he gets checked out a little bit. Like, earlier in the race, when you look at it, he gets blocked. Like, I forget exactly when it was. But he's kind of sandwiched in the middle here. I mean, he's Bafferted on all sides, except for Doug O'Neill. Yeah, there you go, right here. Like, he's completely just pinned. He has nowhere to go. He rides up on the heels, and he can't really find anywhere to go. So he has to kind of settle backward. I mean, where's he supposed to go? But he still finds a way, and he doesn't give up. And I think that's a really good character in a young horse. Because, like, right there, like, if a horse gets blocked, you know, that can be very mentally, like, draining. Like, that can really knock you off your game and just take you out of the race. But you know what? He finds this opening and he just keeps charging. I mean, I didn't even think he was going to win this, but he just gets stronger the longer he goes, and frankly, he reminds me a little bit of journalism. In a sea of Bafferts, he's able to run them all down, and he has a great turn of foot, like right there. The horse that runs third runs earlier in the card on Friday. See, there's a 2-year-old race there. I know there is. The Golden State... No, not the Phillies. I forget what his name is. I know it's the Tabor horse, but I've totally forgotten the name. Anyways, the point is that Intrepido is a horse that I'm not sure if he will win, but it'd be really nice if he did. Plutarch. That's who's running. That's who. And there he is. Okay, Plutarch is running in the TAA on the turf. So that's a different place. Oh, and also in this race is Dr. Agni, who is the son of Lady Eli. Lady Eli was a great mare, and her son, he's getting there. The son hasn't embarrassed Lady Eli, let's just say that. But he's not top tier. So those are all the juvenile races, and then we can look at the main card. And this is where I think I can kind of spread my wings a little bit and kind of express more opinions. Oh, that sucks. Um, so, I guess first and foremost, this long day begins with the Filly and Mare Sprint, I think. Is it? Yep, it is. There we are, right here. Hall and Ice is an Arkansas bred. I do admire the courage to run an Arkansas bred, but you have some difficulties. Oh yeah, Fille Blanche, the Japanese horse, out. Scratched. So that sucks. A lot of money is going to be thrown on Tamra. Tamra, she really gets by a lot by her name, by her royalty. Because, I mean, look at this record here. Tamra was the favorite in the juvenile fillies, and frankly, she won very convincingly in the Del Mar Debutante, and everyone was really excited because she's the daughter of a Hall of Fame mare named Beholder. Beholder was a monster mare when she raced, won 3 Breeders' Cups, so high expectations that her daughter does the same. I mean, she's owned and trained by the same people, why not? But, unfortunately, Tamra is not Beholder because there's only one Beholder in existence, and there probably will only ever be one Beholder. When she ran on the juvenile fillies, she fractured. She had a leg fracture, unfortunately, so you can't really fault her for losing that race. But since then, she's had a really rough go of it. Just a lot of minor things that just kept her from getting back into it. She was second in an allowance race a year after the Breeders' Cup, and then she took another 11 months to win a G3. I mean, it was a nice return to form, but, she has ran 2 times in 23 months. When she was running in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, I was a sophomore in school. And now, I'm a senior. And she's only ran 2 times. She runs once every year. Which is unfortunate. I know it's not her fault. Just things happen, but to have her be 7-2, no thank you. Like, I would not want any of that. Like, she gets by a lot on just her name, but yeah, let's look at some of the other horses. I think that I'd pay more attention to, well, okay, we have Sweet Azteca. Sweet Azteca, she's also a California-based horse. She won the Beholder Mile at one point. Has a pretty alright record, but she's only ran twice. To be fair, she has won. She's pretty quick. She's experienced over Del Mar. But I don't know about this one. I mean, with all the horses that are coming at her, 2-1 also seems a bit overblown in my opinion. Hope Road, this is Baffert's strongest horse. Actually one of the most successful that he's trained this year. And this horse has been kind of right in the thick of it, running in all these major filly sprints. So, I mean, Hope Road, as much as I'm not usually a fan of Baffert horses, it's hard to play against her. Last year, she ran on the undercard, and she won the Bayakoa, and now she has blossomed into a Breeders' Cup contender. I mean, she's been toe-to-toe with some of the best in the Derby City Distaff. She won the Ballerina. She looks very nice. And I mean, the horse that she lost to in the Derby City Distaff is not even running in the race because she's going to be in the Breeders' Cup Sprint for males. So there's that too. Zeitlos. Fair enough. Let's see. Zeitlos, I've heard her name forever. I mean, okay, I saw her win the Ski Pat. That's interesting. She's been knocking on the door, ran in a turf sprint, and then went back to dirt and was third in the Thoroughbred Club of America. She's alright. I mean, last year we had a bit of an upset with Soul of an Angel, and that really kind of caught me off guard, and that was really a good race. That was one of the funnest, just by entertainment value. We'll just have to see there. I think, yeah, like, one of the big problems here is that there isn't really a standout. I mean, okay, Baffert also has Richie, a Chilean horse, who has been doing well. I mean, she's been doing well at longer distances, and they're cutting her back, so she'll probably appreciate that. Grade 1 winner in Chile. I do like seeing foreign horses succeed, but Baffert. The other thing that's interesting about this is that Chile has never won a Breeders' Cup race. They've gotten really close, a lot, but the only South American country to win a Breeders' Cup has been Argentina. Like, if I look back at the Breeders' Cup stats, like, I know that both Chile and Brazil have gotten second multiple times. But I know they haven't won. Let's see, checking Chile. Let's see, Bronzo, Coca Beach, Desita, Host, Infinidad, Kit-a-Cat, La Vida, Masterpiece, Mufasa. They've had good ones, but they've never had a winner. So that's something I think we all got to really consider here. Is that, yeah, we don't really have that. So that's this race. This race definitely doesn't have a standout, so it's kind of a bit of a wide open affair. Vava, I mean, she was really good last year, but I think she's tailed off a little bit since. Yeah, I mean, she won last year's Derby City Distaff. She was at the very top, but she really flopped last year. And since then, she's been kind of slowly putting the pieces back together. I mean, she couldn't even win at Charlestown. Second and third, Book Club America. Still, I mean, no worries. Yeah, if you need to leave and just take a break, be my guest. None taken over that. So okay, we got a wide open affair there. If we continue moving on, the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. This race is always fun. This is where we get the only Australian-born horse, even though he's imported to Japan, Invincible Papa. So Invincible Papa is both representing Japan and Australia. Australia has yet to win a Breeders' Cup, to my knowledge. Yeah, they've yet to win a Breeders' Cup. In fact, they've only had 4 horses even try. I mean, Invincible Papa, he's a good horse. Frankly, I kind of wonder why they didn't run him in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. I mean, his biggest win, the CBC show, was on turf, but most of his victories were on dirt. So I gotta wonder why they didn't go for that. But, well, I mean, to each his own. Horrible draws. Yeah, that is true. Some did have some pretty rough goes of it. I mean, it's not as big of a deal as some of the big turf races, but yeah, the draws are definitely still very wide open here. If there's a horse that I'm really rooting to win, it's Kadem, because I want to see an old boy do it. I mean, Kadem has done so much. This is kind of interesting. During the King Stand Stakes, I think it was 2022 actually. Yeah, I think it was 2022 when Nature Strip. There we go. In that race, you see this riderless horse? Actually, we gotta go from the beginning. In this race, there's a horse who ditches his jockey. And that horse is Kadem. There he is right there. Kadem is a riderless horse, and he comes within a neck of defeating Nature Strip without a rider. Then in the next 2 years, he wins the Jubilee Stakes, and he also takes the Woodford in America. I mean, he won the Queen Elizabeth Jubilee at 80-1, and then he defends his title the following year. This horse has done just a lot as a racehorse. Like, so for him to be tied as the oldest Breeders' Cup winner, I think would be really, like, that'd be a blast. So I'm definitely rooting for Cadem, but, I mean, AG Bullet, that's a very strong horse. Heck, even was kind of a big contender last year, too. Arizona Blaze, you can't count out the Brits. Arizona Blaze, I'm currently in Arizona, so he's a Grade 1 winner in Ireland. He won the Sapphire. He was second in last year's renewal, only barely beaten by Star Lust, who's not running this year. I think she's retired, actually. So, not a bad horse to back, if I say so myself. Bring the Band Home probably has one of my favorite names out of this group. I mean, it's just a catchy name. He won the Troy, but he didn't really perform in Canada. Nice to have a Florida horse to perform. That's always nice. Yes, if there's any other horse to mention in this group, well, Motorius, I saw him get promoted to victor in the Green Flash. He always has a great burst of speed. He loves Del Mar. So he's a likable guy. Governor Sam, his owner is really funny. Like, that guy, he'll get drunk and he'll just rave and insult anyone who dares oppose his horse. He has a good horse. I can't argue with that. But I don't think he has a Breeders' Cup horse, and I don't think he has a horse that has a 100 rating either. I think that's an overrating, to say the least. Swinbank, don't kill me if your horse loses. Moving on to the Cy Games Breeders' Cup Sprint. Here's the for you UMA fans out there. This one's probably one that you will want to pay attention to. I mean, it's sponsored by the people who gave you all your favorite racing lesbians, so there is that. This field is... It's wide. I keep on saying wide open, but it really is. This is an interesting story. So Ben Tornato and Straight No Chaser, they were first and second last year. Straight No Chaser won last year's Breeders' Cup Sprint. An unsound horse, Perpetually, who seemed to always just have the bad luck of it, but finally he peaked at the right time, and he showed what he was made of. He then won the Riyadh Dirt Sprint, but after a really bad performance in the Dubai Golden Shaheen, he came third in the Santa Anita Sprint Championship in his return, which took a long time. Not really looking as strong as he was before, but, I mean, this horse is kind of unpredictable. Like, he can really, like, peak at really good moments. And, I mean, I thought he didn't have a chance last year after he shook off all the rust, and he made it work. So, I mean, Straight No Chaser is always a lively horse, but you just don't know. Ben Tornado, this horse is another one of those who, after a really long layoff, people are really excited about. So he won the Gallant Bob. That was kind of his announcement to the world that he's serious business. He also was third in the Saudi Derby. What an interesting show. We have two different horses who ran in Saudi. But then after a really good second, injury just took him out for 10 months. But he came back in the Louisville Thoroughbred Society Stakes, and he was a monster there. He just ran a monster race, uber fast, and when he got off the trailer, you should have seen it. Him getting off the trailer, he was fired up. Actually, I need to go and find this, because, like, the video of him getting off the trailer is just, like, it's so cool. Here we go. Twitter. So here on Twitter, like, just look at that. He is so excited. Like, that is a fireball. I mean, he's so on his toes. He's prancing around. The guy can, he has to reassure him and really kind of hold him. But look at that. That is, 1,100 pounds of dynamite. Mulligan, he never gets the respect he deserves. He's been around for a while, and he's been He's always just been right there. He's run. I mean, he was a Grade 1 winner last year. He tailed off in the forego, but he could bounce back. I mean, for a strong while, he was kind of placing in every major turf and major sprint race for about a year. But he's had a few goose eggs as of recent, so you don't really know. Banishing, yeah, that's. I mean, Banishing's not really a sprinter. Like, he's been a horse. I mean, this horse has ran a lot this year. I mean, but to be fair, one of his best performances, where he did dead heat with Nisos, was a 7 furlong sprint, the Churchill Downs Stakes. And since then, he's been kind of pushing himself. I mean, the Charlestown Classic is a uniquely configured route race. He lost the Lucas Classic, but he won the Oaklawn Mile. I mean, most people would say, why not try him in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile? There's less horses, and it's more up his alley. But I guess they saw something in him. I admire that they run him a lot. I like that he's a sound horse, but I don't know if this is... Yeah, I agree with you. This isn't really my first pick with him, but I wouldn't be mad if he won. I like when sound horses win, so I won't be too mad. Imagination winning the San Antonio Sprint Championship. Baffert trained horse who finally seemed to have found his groove. Tried him in the Triple Crown, didn't work out. Nakatomi, this horse has been around forever, it feels like. 6 years old, I've seen him a couple times. He always shows up in this race. I mean, he most recently won the Phoenix Stakes, so he's not over the hill. He was second in the Golden Shaheen. Like, he's a pretty good American representative, and he was third in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. I mean, just look at this record here. The only 2 times in... Let's see, if you go from 2023 to 2025, he has ran 15 times, and only twice has he been worse than third. That's a really good batting average. I mean, you'd be a fool not to at least consider him. He's always just there. I am always impressed with him. He's a nice horse. Not a winner, but he's good. Dr. Venkman, I just don't think is fast enough. American Stage, despite being American-born, is a Japan horse. I mean, he lost to Nakatomi in the Dubai Golden Shaheen. Personally, I'm throwing him out. I don't really like him. And then, of course, what kind of fool would I be if I didn't talk about Copion? Copion, I mean, this is the filly. Only 3 fillies have won the Breeders' Cup Sprint against the males. But what's the word? But she won the Derby City Distaff really impressively. Lost the Great Lady M. Stretched out in the Clement L. Hirsch. Wasn't really to her liking. But she's sorting back up, and Richard Mandel is the kind of guy who only runs a horse in this kind of race when he knows that he's got something. I am hoping that Sovereignty stays healthy, but I am of the opinion that I'm just going to go in with the attitude that he is scratched so that I don't disappoint myself. Because, I mean, those guys, they'll scratch the horse if he has a wart. And I mean, I'm not saying that to be mean, like, because I appreciate that they're so kind of, horse first. I'm not going to be mad at that. But, I can't help but be disappointed when they choose to not run him in these kind of races. Because, I mean, think of all the things that he could have done. I mean, he could have been a Triple Crown winner, but we sadly will never get to see that. I mean, I was told that it was a 103. Like, that he had a 103 at one point. They've gotten it back down. Like, he doesn't have a fever right now. But, if it spikes again, well, that's not good. You don't want that. So, I mean, they always err on the side of caution, but it's disappointing when these things happen. Back to Copion, though. Well, alright. We'll see. I mean, you've been wrong before. uh, thankfully, about these things. So I take what you say with a grain of salt. But we'll see what happens. Kopion, Richard Mandella, I mean, he entered Beholder in the Pacific Classic when he didn't have to. And, well, that horse was great. I mean, it is the best showing of restraint to run a horse when it's to scratch a horse when it's the most inconvenient. You know, everyone's expecting him to be there, and all that. You know, that really kind of shows your priorities. But, you know, I still can't help but be disappointed. You know, I think, like, it's a human emotion. You wish that, you know, he'd be healthy and, you know, run against all the best. Especially considering how much greatness we've seen the few times he does run. I'm still excited for when he runs in the Dubai World Cup, though, because it's been a while since we've really brought a monster over to the Mideast. Archangelo, yeah, that was the pits. That sucked, but I don't like Archangelo nearly as much as I did Sovereignty. I mean, Sovereignty's a different beast compared to Archangelo. But Archangelo was also another horse where the brakes were coming off. Sovereignty, I don't think, is unsound. I think he's just very, nurtured. It's more to do with his connections than Sovereignty himself. I mean, he wasn't scratched from the Preakness because he was hurt. And a fever, well, that can happen to any horse. Any horse can get sick. So, it's more the fact that his connections are very conservative with him. But I guess for final thoughts on this, this is a really good race. I think Nakatomi's going to get a piece of the pie. I don't think he'll win, though. Kopion, I mean, if Richard Mandella has the confidence to enter her here, he must know something. So, Kopion, I think, has the potential to really do it, but she's going to have to deal with some wicked fast horses. I mean, Ben Tornado, he's fast, and he's shaking out some of the rust, but he's only had one start back. I mean, that isn't always... I'd like him more if he had two starts back, but... In Straight No Chaser, you can never fully count him out. Imagination's always pretty quick. Yeah, this is a good race. The Breeders' Cup Distaff came pretty well, too. I guess first off, we might as well go over the foreign horses. Sarawak Rim, Argentine horse. Argentine horses can and have succeeded in California since the 1930s. She won a Grade 1 race in Argentina, but usually the Argentine horses that did their best work, it wasn't their first race back. So like Sarawak Rim, very inexperienced, is going to be, you know, jumping really high up in class, and hasn't run in months. With few exceptions, Argentine horses do their best work later on, when they get a few races under their belt. The number 1 hole. I mean, that sucks, but if she's as good of a horse as we think she is, then she'll be able to figure it out. Personally, I was really disappointed with her defeat in the Spinster. She should have gone by that horse, but she didn't. But she is a cool horse. I mean, I saw her last year finish 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. So it'd be pretty cool to see her, you know, really nail this. Sorry, I'm losing my voice here. Really nail this race, but you just don't know. Yeah, you don't know. Like, I'd hope that she kind of prevails, but I feel like in the Spinster, with the fact that Torpedo Anna very clearly, you know, was, you know, done. You know, Nitrogen should have had that in her hands. You know, that should have been a cakewalk, but she couldn't get past that stubborn Jinjin. And she also drifted a bit in the stretch, which I don't like that either. I mean, she has good stamina. I mean, she won the 1 1/4 Alabama Stakes. But, you know, like, I expected more out of her. That's just kind of my thing. I mean, you are kind of right, but at the same time, the fact that she did win the Alabama against the Kentucky Oaks winner, and, I mean, she is a Grade 1 winner on dirt, so I guess that more just speaks to her raw talent. But, yeah, the more I think about it, the way she moves, she's much more comfortable on the turf, but she's so talented that she can do both. But, you know, the money's on the dirt. But I think if she disappoints in the Breeders' Cup Distaff, they'll probably bring her back to turf. Heck, if they want to be ambitious, I could see them trying to run her in maybe the Matriarch before year's end. But I could also just see them just resting her up and then bringing her back in either the Jenny Wiley or the Double Dog Dare. Yes, so for anyone who's unfamiliar, I had joked about the fact that Jinjin has some ability, because I realized that she had pulled off this upset in the Double Dog Dare, and that wouldn't it be funny if she did that again, was basically what I said. Wouldn't it be funny if she did that again in the Spinster Stakes? Turns out she did. She won the race. So I kind of wished her home. I mean, actually, isn't Jin a word for genie? I know it's not spelt the way that... Yes, it is. It's a homonym. I know it's spelt differently, but it's kind of funny to think about because, you know, Jinjin is pronounced the same way as Jin, which is the word for genie in Arabic. Even if it's spelled totally different, and it's obviously a reference to alcohol. Horses and alcohol really go together well. But Jinjin, she's a bit of a horse for the course. I don't know if she'll translate to California, so I err with caution on her. But she could. Seismic Beauty, Baffert's horse, unsurprisingly well liked. Won the Santa Margarita, won the Clement Hirsch. You know, she could win this. She could win this race. You know, kind of a nice horse. Definitely the horse of the course. But I think she's very beatable. She's very beatable. She's a pretty horse too. But Darth Vader, I think, is one of the horses that I'm more rooting for than maybe fully liking. I mean, she's ran some pretty good races. She did win the Ogden Phipps and lose the personal ensign by a top-tier Torpedo Anna. I mean, she's been a good horse for a long time, just outside of great. This year, she finally got that elusive Grade 1. It'd be cool if she won. I mean, she has a teddy bear. This is a horse with a teddy bear. So, that's cute. But, at the same time, you know, she's far from a lock. Scylla. I saw this horse last year run in the Breeders' Cup Filliamere Sprint. And she was alright there. They stretched her out a bit recently. But, I mean, she was third at Jinjin and Nitrogen. Nitrogen. I guess that you could call that the Yuri ship name. But, yeah, I think... I'm not sure about Scylla. Gezora. Yeah, she did lay an egg. I'll have to look at Gezora in a moment. But, for one last thing on the distaff, if there's a horse that I really am kind of wishing home here, Dry Powder, their connections are pretty nice. I am kind of mutuals with one of the connections. So if she wins, that'd be absolutely thrilling. Although her chances are difficult. Elise Verti, she ran in last year's distaff, didn't do very well. I expect her to do no better this year. Clico. I love this horse. I saw her win in Indiana. I saw her in her stable. She's a really cute horse. The fact that she won the Cotillion was amazing too. I think that she really could be blooming in the right direction. So I'll be wishing her home. Like, go Clico, is what I'll be screaming. But, you know, I wouldn't be mad if Nitrogen, Sarawak Rim, or Gunsong, Dry Powder, or Darth Vader won. There's a lot of likable horses. Scottish Lassie, I mean, she's one of the better 3-year-olds. But, you know, she had her moment, and the Cotillion, she disappointed. Let's look at Gezora. Here we are, Gazora, French bred. It's a horse I know very little about. Uh, okay, Arc de Triomphe alumni. Won the Diane, was second in the Vermil. I mean, she's a nice horse. Favorite? I'm not sure about favorite, though. I really like Cinderella's Dream. She's a very beautiful animal. She's been around for a little bit. Uh, she's been running everywhere. This seems almost like a soft spot. And I mean, she barely lost last year to Moira. Now Moira's gone. So this is kind of the perfect spot for Cinderella's Dream. She feels pretty. She's a real good horse. I mean, she's a grade 1 winner in 2 countries. She loves California. You know, she's coast to coast. She's hard to beat. She feels pretty. One of the better turf mares in a while. I'm not sure about for Scottish Lassie. Really? So I guess that's why you really want to know. I mean, she's a good horse. She's a pretty good, damn good horse. But winner, I'm not fully sure about winning. I think that it's not a set and done deal, but she could win. She absolutely could. One horse that I'm going to really throw out here. Oh, let's see. Actually, let's look at See the Fire. See the Fire. 6 starts, was second in the Opera. Ran in the International. She's been running against the boys quite a bit. So for her to go here, she's going to get a bit of a break. I think she'll appreciate that. That's a nice horse. She could be dangerous. Mission of Joy in Ontario bred. That'd be a heck of a story. La Kika. I'm really... Yes, that is a Peruvian horse. Your eyes don't deceive you. La Kika is a grade 1 winner on dirt and turf in her home country of Peru. But she ran most recently on the dirt in the Zenyatta Stakes, and she was last, unfortunately. So now they're trying her on the turf, where she has won more of her races. So there is that, but frankly, she stands no chance. Peru is just not world star talent yet. I mean, the best horse that they ever had, Centaurin, who won the Pellegrini in Argentina, when he came to America, he was an allowance horse. Unfortunately, for lack of a better word. Is it normal for them to run the Classic as the 4th from last race? That's been a very recent development to try and dodge football airtime. Personally, I don't mind it. Like, of course you want to save the Breeders' Cup Classic for last, but it also is a very European thing to do, to run the most important races in the middle of the card. And Europe, you know, they know what they're doing. Like, in my world, I love building up to the Breeders' Cup Classic. I'm going to miss that, because that's from my childhood. But it is what it is. I just deal with it. That's just what happens. For this race, I mean, it's another really nice race. Cinderella's Dream would be who I'd go for. Going back up, let's look at the turf. This race is, I mean, the Breeders' Cup turf rarely disappoints. We have the ARC runner-up, I mean, a nose away from winning, basically a head away from winning the ARC, Minihawk. Yeah, they do. And also just kind of give time for people to leave. Oh, the rabbit stuff. You know what? Let's talk about that. Mike Rapoli is a bit of a sore loser. That is just, I mean, like, you can be angry when a rabbit shows up. I mean, a rabbit was the difference between Damascus winning and Dr. Fager winning back in the 60s. But at the same time, it's horse racing. It's kind of meant to be a little unfair. And also, I mean, Mike Rapoli has ran rabbits before. I don't remember what race, but in a turf race, he did couple an entry. And when he did, one was a pace setter. So if that's true, and I check my sources, then he's a total hypocrite. But also, to waste that much energy on that part of racing is very childish when it comes very obviously from a place of just kind of complaining that you lost. Like, I get it, you spend a lot of money on these horses, but you gotta know it's horse racing and that stuff happens. The thing I really don't appreciate... Sorry, I'm coughing a bit. Alright, we're good. What I don't appreciate is him blaming the rabbit for the spill in the Jockey Club Gold Cup when he wasn't even the horse who started the chain reaction. The chain reaction began with a horse named Phileas Fogg, who then veered in, and then he veers in, and Contrary Thinking veers in, and then that causes the bunch up. So for him to be so tunnel visioned about this, that he starts making claims that rabbits are dangerous, is just ridiculous. Rabbits and pace setters are one of the most common things in European racing, and they never cause spills. And you know who else didn't cause a spill? Contrary Thinking. Contrary Thinking did not cause that spill. Also, to make that video where he blames the rabbit while also giving an update on Irad Ortiz, who was injured in that pileup, to make that 2-minute video mostly about, like, for context, he made a 2-minute video about Irad Ortiz. That was the title of it. Irad Ortiz was the injured rider. You know, it's important. We gotta check up on him. And luckily he was alright. But in that 2-minute video, the majority of it was just him complaining about rabbits and Contrary Thinking and blaming them for the whole incident, instead of just talking about Irad's well-being. And I find that so insensitive, selfish, and arrogant that in this video where you're supposed to be, you know, talking about the well-being of your jockey who is riding your horse, you make it about you and your grievances with something else and your personal agenda. I think that's just gross. So that made me lose a lot of respect for Rapoli. Banned is a strong word. He's arrogant, but he hasn't broken any rules. That part he is kind of true about. Like, that is something that is against the rules, to enter a horse without intent to win. But that's also a rule that's very hard to enforce. And I can understand that grievance, but the amount of time and energy he has spent on this topic is so unnecessary. It should have been done with when Irad Ortiz got unseated from the horse. And it should have been about focusing on, is Irad okay? At that point, you shut up about rabbits. You know? It's just like, it really doesn't, and especially for someone who's a leader, like, or who's trying to frame himself as a leader, to spend so much time making, frankly, really childish insults about these things and harping on these issues shows a lack of emotional maturity that I don't want in a leader. Especially a leader who literally only gave that title to himself. Basically just made himself king and is literally the authority of nothing. He just said, I am commissioner now. Bow before me. I'm not sure about Sierra Leone's stud fee. I mean, he's well-bred. He's a nice horse. But, I mean, if he was so valuable, he probably would have retired after the Breeders' Cup Classic last year. But, they kept him going. He's a nice horse, but, I mean, he is a very classic horse. I'm thinking 55, 65. But, while there is obviously the grievances on contrary thinking, I think that Sierra Leone is capable of winning. Now, looking at his record, contrary thinking does not belong in this race, and it's delusional to think that he's entered with any chance in hell. He is a rabbit. There's no way around it. And, there is a little bit of reason to be a little disappointed in that. But also, Sierra Leone, while he is very pace-dependent, he doesn't always need a rabbit to win. He did win last year's Breeders' Cup Classic without a rabbit, defeating Fierceness. And he did defeat Fierceness in the Kentucky Derby, too. On the flip side, Fierceness defeated Sierra Leone fair and square in the Jim Dandy Stakes. When else did they fight? Oh, yeah, and in the Travers Stakes. So at Saratoga, Fierceness was king. And then when they fought again in the Whitney, that's when the rabbit came in. But frankly, even without the rabbit, Fierceness didn't run a good race. He had an off day. I think even without the rabbit, Fierceness doesn't beat Sierra Leone. You do kinda, but also, it's kind of like a cutoff thing. Like, there are certain, minimum requirements, of, performance, but they are very broad. Like, you have to compete in, a stakes race, you have to have earned a certain amount of money, but also, those rules are still comparatively lax. The big thing that is supposed to deter weaker horses from participating is that the horses with the highest earnings get first priority. Like, if this race had a 14-horse field, contrary thinking would be shoved out. But so many horses ran in the dirt mile and went into other places that contrary thinking was able to sneak in. Oh yeah, I would laugh so hard if contrary thinking won. That would be a funny ending. Or just have contrary thinking defeat Fierceness. That would just be hilarious. But Fierceness is a good horse, and Fierceness is also undefeated from post 1, even if he nearly threw off his jockey doing it. He ran a heck of a race in the Pacific Classic, and he loves the West Coast. So Fierceness has a real legitimate chance of winning the Breeders' Cup Classic. I could totally see him win. I don't necessarily want him to win, but he's a damn good horse. He definitely could. Sierra Leone, though, I think Sierra Leone is very situation-based, but on his best day, he can do it. I think Sierra Leone's kind of like Tiznow, where he doesn't always win, but he seems to always rise to the occasion on the most important days. Here's my opinion on the American chance of the Melbourne Cup. If Parchment Party wins the Melbourne Cup, I will shave my head. I think he has no chance, but if he did win, I mean, I'd be prideful as an American, but embarrassed as a handicapper that I let that horse get by me. I mean, I'm glad that he's got all the training and time to get ready for the Melbourne Cup, because, that's a big journey. But also, he has literally never won a stakes race on the turf. His 2 big stakes victories were on dirt. He can handle long distance, but he's a dirt horse, not a turf horse. I mean, heck, if anyone wants to fly out, they can shave my head for me, if I'm being honest. But, for things that are on his side, he likes to go long, he likes long distance, and he has months of preparation to get ready for this kind of race. and he's also going to get a break in the weights. On the other side, he's never won a stakes race on turf. Kind of important when you're running 2 miles of it. I don't remember exactly, but his last win was in August, and he's kind of just been, he went and did a quarantine period in England, and then he went to Australia. So he's been there for like a month or two. So, he's had a lot of time to get used to the Southern Hemisphere. I would love for America to get to really, shoot their shot with a real American turf horse. Like, last year with Limited Liability and the Grey Wizard, I think that those horses were worthy of the Melbourne Cup. But it just didn't work out, But those are the kind of horses you should bring to the Melbourne Cup, not Parchment Party. So, yeah, no chance. I think he has no chance. And I only threaten to shave my hair when I believe that there is no way I lose and there's no way the horse wins. So, yeah, if I am willing to risk that much, my thoughts. Yes, he did run a off the turf. Yeah, the Belmont Gold Cup was off the turf. So, frankly, I wonder if they should have just revoked his invitation. Oh, that if Contrary Thinking wins, I shave my head? Screw it. Yeah, sure. If Contrary Thinking wins the Breeders' Cup Classic, I lose my hair. That's a good one. That's something I'm willing to risk. I mean, how could he win? He's not even meant to be running. But, this year, we have seen rabbits run very well. So, you heard it here, folks. Well, I wish Sovereignty was in the race. I wish Sovereignty was healthy and ran in the Breeders' Cup Classic. So that's kind of my blunt answer. For horses that I wish were also in the Breeders' Cup, I kind of wish Mystic Dan was in it instead of the Dirt Mile. I think it would have been cool to have him running it, but I also understand why they didn't do it. Besides that, I also kind of wish Hit Show had tried the Breeders' Cup instead of the Fayette Stakes, but I also don't think that even if he ran with the same kind of enthusiasm as he did in the Fayette Stakes, that he would have won. I think the Fayette Stakes was the right spot. It was a winning performance for the Fayette, but I don't think he would have had a winning performance at Del Mar. That horse is a bit of a moody guy. Yeah, 99-1 is more fair odds, but you just gotta wait and see. If Cody's Wish ran the Breeders' Cup Classic, he would have lost. The Whitney was a clear indicator that he is not a classic distance horse. Yeah, yeah, you can text chat if you want. I know it's probably a joke, but yeah, you can tell him that I'm losing my hair if that horse wins. I guess continuing to talk about the Breeders' Cup Classic, I would really like to see Forever Young win the Classic, but that is a strong lineup of horses. I would love to see him win too. I want to see Japan really do it. That's who I want the most. But I also know that's not, but this is not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. And he's going to have to run a hell of a race. He's going to have to run a lot better than he did last year. And he's going to have to hope that everyone else is not on their A game. Well, with Sovereignty out of the race, I wouldn't go that far. But, if he stays, I think this is still a cool classic with some nice horses. a lot of the most important horses are in it. I just kind of wish that, uh, we could still see Sovereignty run, but I just don't think it's going to happen, sadly. And that's unfortunate. Yes, he absolutely will need to go double time. Forever Young is kind of the only American Japanese dirt horse that really, if he ran a whole year in America, he'd get a Grade 1 race. Yeah, I was very disappointed, but I'm used to this kind of crap happening. It's horse racing, but I still can't help but be disappointed. Uh, for other kind of horses to talk about in this field, Mindframe, I mean, he's a wicked horse. At 10-1, he's a total steal of a price. Journalism with his new jockey. It's a shame that Umberto lost the jockey privileges. I mean, maybe Jose Ortiz makes up some of the difference on journalism, but we'll just have to see what happens. Journalism still has to deal with a monster field, and he didn't run his best in the Pacific Classic, but maybe with the extra break after the Pacific Classic, he gets back to A+ to his A game, and he kind of, puts himself back together. Because I think the Pacific Classic was kind of the display of, him being a bit tired. He had been running hard. He ran in all 3 jewels of the Triple Crown, and, he was starting to be a little exhausted. And he lost to a horse who was running a heck of a race in fierceness. So maybe this break is all that's needed to really boost himself up, and especially if Sovereignty doesn't run, journalism's chances really do go up. So there is that. And Nevada Beach, I mean, he beat a Breeders' Cup winner. He could have a chance at an upset, but a small one. Baeza returning to the West Coast. He has an even less of a chance compared to journalism. I wish him the best, though. That's a tall order. But I like that he's here, and I think that he deserves to be here. He's a hard worker, but he will, similar to Forever Young, he's going to have to really jump up if he's going to want to do this. I mean, he is the 3rd best 3-year-old for a reason. Besides that, that's kind of the whole field. Oh, Antiquarian. Antiquarian did kind of get lucky with the Jockey Club Gold Cup, but he is also a nice horse, but I think he's just outside top tier. So, he's a pretty horse, but I don't think he's, But, yeah, Antiquarian isn't my first choice. I'd kind of disregard him. 2 more to go. It obviously goes to Sovereignty. I mean, Sovereignty won 3 classics. If Journalism wins the Breeders' Cup Classic, then he'll have only won 2, and he still will have lost both times to Sovereignty. I think that's about as clear-cut as you get for Sovereignty as the best 3-year-old. It's not always about who wins the big one. For Sovereignty, he won the Kentucky Derby, he won the Belmont, and he won the Travers. That's 3 races. Journalism has only won 2 classics. Maybe 3 if you count the Haskell. If he wins the Breeders' Cup. And that's a big if he even does it. I mean, that's a slightly different story. Fierceness won the Florida Derby, the Jim Dandy, and the Travers. But he very badly performed in the Kentucky Derby. Sierra Leone was second by a nose bob in the Kentucky Derby, and he won the Breeders' Cup Classic. He also was just in general more consistent, finishing 3rd in the Belmont Stakes, finishing the top 3 in that and the Travers Stakes. And when the 2 faced off against each other, Fierceness and Sierra Leone are 2 for 2. But Sierra Leone beat Older Horse in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and Fierceness took the Travers. It was very close, and there's definitely still room for debate. But At the end of the day, if Fiercest wanted to be champion 3-year-old, he should have won the Breeders' Cup Classic, and he did not. So that's the Breeders' Cup Classic. For the mile, well, One Stripe, he's a cool horse. He's from South Africa, but he's not winning. Notable speech, I mean, this is kind of what he's supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be coming from Great Britain and stealing the races. I mean, after finishing second in the Jacques Moreau, third in last year's race, he won the Woodbine Mile in Canada, stole that for Britain. Now he's supposed to steal this. This is exactly what he's supposed to be doing. The Lion in Winter, I mean, anything with Aidan O'Brien, but he also hasn't won a single time this year. So, good luck. But this could be the race to win. I mean, this horse was originally supposed to be a Derby horse, a Derby runner. But since then, he's kind of found his new place. Formidable Man, I think, actually has a real shot here. I mean, he's the horse of the course. He's got a great turn of foot. He likes Del Mar, clearly. If this was run anywhere else, though, I wouldn't look past him. I'd look past him. Johannes, I mean, he was second in last year's race. He's had some time to recover. But, you know, he's still slowly building himself up. But, I mean, to finish second last year, Johannes definitely deserves some talk. Sovereignty may not have beaten older horses, but with how clearly Sovereignty was better than Journalism, I think that Eclipse voters are going to stay on his side. I'm not sure why. I mean, has he ever even gone a mile and a half? He's gone a mile and a quarter. Guess continuing through this field here. Argene. I mean, 10 Happy Rose ran all right last year, but she actually won the Victoria Mile. Argene, I think, is weaker than 10 Happy Rose was going into it, so I'm going to pass on her. Gas Me Up would be pretty fun as an Ontario horse. He's got some speed. I mean, he ran a really good race in the King Edward. Ran well in the Woodbine Mile, but, you know, he lost. But, you know, he could be flying home late. If he's lucky. Karat would be a funny story. I mean, he won the Sussex Stakes at 100-1, but rightfully so. He was 100-1 since he's been 5th and 7th since. That'd be more funny than actually possible. Well, Rhetorical, the New York horse, undefeated, super lightly raced, has been going up. He's kind of an interesting one. I mean, wow. What a jump. It'd be cool to see New York win another, you know, Breeders' Cup, but... And he could do it, but I feel like he's probably going to he's just going to miss it somehow. Like what happened to Up to the Mark. Who else? Anything with Britain is serious. Okay, here's one more. Sahlan. Sahlan won the Prix Moulin de Longchamp. Okay, makes sense. Why people like him. Grand Orient. Another Chile horse. This horse doesn't have a chance in hell. I mean, okay, he won a race. He won a Grade 1. He won the invitation race to this Breeders' Cup. But, I mean, 3 for 11 is not exactly the record you want to see before running in the Breeders' Cup. And also, you know, first time running here and all this other stuff. I just think he's way out of his... He should have had a prep race before this, but that didn't happen. Yeah, Chile has a few horses in here. I don't think they have much of a shot, but it's not. Well, Richie actually in the Breeders' Cup Distaff or Filly Mare Sprint has been Grade 1 placed at Del Mar and is now shortening up in distance. So I think if you want, for Chile representation, Richie is probably the better Chile horse. Grand Orient, I mean, he has a good pedigree, but I think that's going to be a big ask. They have never done it. They've had good horses come here, like Wildcat and Cocoa Beach would have won the Breeders' Cup Distaff if it weren't for a little horse called Zenyatta. But for now, Chile has yet to ever win a Breeders' Cup. Only South American country to win the Breeders' Cup is Argentina. It'd be cool if, 1-1. It would be cool, but it's going to be a big demand. And then last of all, the Breeders' Cup Turf. Whew! This race is loaded. I feel very bad for Gold Phoenix. He's been a nice little California gelding for a while. He's won the races he's supposed to. He won the Del Mar handicap, so he likes Del Mar, but, I mean, he's just way out of his league. There's a reason why he came down from Ireland to here, because he's not the best Irish horse. Hill Road is the most interesting horse here. Hill Road ran in the Belmont Stakes, and then he went over to the Turf. He ran well to be third in the Nashville Derby, and then was third in the Jockey Club Derby, and now he's doing this. I mean, Prized, who never ran on grass and defeated Sunday Silence in the Swap Stakes, did win the 1989 Breeders' Cup Turf. Yeah, they didn't bring him. But it's also like, I don't think there's much of a shot. In my opinion, at least, of Hill Road winning. It'd be cool as an American. Tawny Port, who was second in the Canadian International, him winning the Breeders' Cup Turf also seems like a very improbable task. Wimbledon Hawkeye won the Nashville Derby, but he was kind of just a British horse stealing a smaller purse. Now he has to deal with the big guys. For Chad Brown, he has Redistricting. Redistricting's a good horse. Won the United Nations, but he lost to Joe Hirsch to Rebels Romance. That kind of paints the picture of what he has to deal with. And then, alright, it's about time we stop being around the bush here. Rebels Romance, Goliath, and Mini Hawk. Mini Hawk is going to be very hard to beat. I mean, she lost by a head bob in the ARC. She's that close to being an ARC champion after winning 3 straight Oakses. So, I mean, hard to play against her. I mean, it's talent versus experience here. Like, Mini Hawk, a 3-year-old filly, just 7 starts, only 2 losses, versus the 2-time winner of the Breeders' Cup Turf, trying to become the first horse to win 3 Breeders' Cup Turfs, and become the first male horse to win 3 Breeders' Cup races. Rebels Romance could have lost last year, though. Rusham Park, the horse that Japan brought, he was very good. He was flying late. Give him another 50 yards, and Rebels Romance doesn't win. He got kind of everything his own way and still barely won. He got his local prep, though, in Joe Hirsch Turf Classic. I don't think he's going to have an undisputed lead here. He's going to kind of have to play by different rules. He's still just as good as he was last year. I mean, last year, just as this, he comes in off a late September Group 1. But this time on American soil. So, everything says that... everything says here that Rebels Romance will be just as good as he is before. But Rebels Romance does also sometimes throw clunkers. I mean, out of the 20 races he's won, and the 29 races he's ran, he's only been third twice. So it's an all or nothing thing with him. Most of the time, 2 out of 3 times, he's a monster. But that third, that's something I think people always got to consider. It'd be awesome if he did win the Breeders' Cup Turf, but frankly, this is tough. This is not easy. This will not be an easy one. Let's see, who did he beat last year? Or in the 2020... Well, in the 22 Breeders' Cup Turf, he did beat Mishriff, but Mishriff was a bit over the hill by that point. He beat Warlike Goddess, who was a good horse, but always seemed to have the short end of the stick. Nation's Pride. Now, that's not really... He's not top tier. I mean, he's not even running in this race. And there's a reason for that. He's going to go to Bahrain, I think. So, oh yeah, that's going to be awesome. Although Mini Hawk's going to have to get moving earlier if she's going to want to win at Del Mar. Del Mar has a very short stretch of only barely over 300 meters, which is half of the length of Longchamp. But, Mini Hawk, I think, could do it. I think the other thing to also think about, though, I mean, for Rebels Romance, this is probably the toughest field he's ever ran against. It's not like the Breeders' Cup Turfs the last times he ran were bad, but they weren't this. They weren't arc runner-up by a head bob. Good. But also, to be fair, Goliath is a horse that I think he can beat. Goliath did beat Rebels Romance in the King George, but he's kind of inconsistent. I think the whole Japan, the dream to win in Japan is a ambitious one. He's a cool horse, but I don't think he's going to do it. He deserves to be in the Breeders' Cup, but to beat Rebels Romance again, and not just that, Mini Hawk, he's going to have a tough time. But I think he very much could cleave through most of this field. If he's on his best day. If he brings his best effort. He's a likable horse, but I think winning's not going to be easy. I mean, those three really dominate the pool here. But even then, there are still a lot of good horses. In terms of El Cordoba's, he won the Sword Dancer. He's kind of the same level as a Nation's Pride, and Nation's Pride isn't a Breeders' Cup Turf winner either. And then, if there's a long shot I want to do well, but it seems ambitious to even hope, it's Rebel Red, who's a one-eyed horse. For him to win the Breeders' Cup after everything he's been through would be awesome, but a tall order. Oh yeah, also, the time between races to travel halfway across the world and not just run in the Japan Cup, but also the Arima Kinen. I mean, hold your horses. He was 6th in last year's Japan Cup. How's he going to do this year? I think he's probably going to do only about equal, or maybe even worse. Depending on what happens. Rebel Red. Yes, Rebel Red. He's the number 5 horse. Nope, not the song by Moonshine Bandits. This Rebel Red. He's a horse who races with an eye patch. Isn't that just awesome? I mean, real easy horse to root for. But, he has a lofty dream to win this race. But I'll root for him. So those are some of the horses. I think that's the whole Breeders' Cup, folks. Um, that's every Breeders' Cup race. Oh no, he had an incident. Some infection, something that came over. He lost the eye, but he learned to race without it. That's what happened. So I'll be rooting for him there. Mystic Dan running in Japan. Oh yeah, I forgot the dirt mile. Whoopsies. Um, I mean, Nisos is a pretty easy choice, but I'm kind of hoping he loses. But if he's on his best day, he should win. Goal Oriented is a nice horse, but not top tier. Tumbarumba has a cool story, but he's definitely ambitious. Full Serrano lost the Goodwood, but also he lost the Pacific Classic last year before he won the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. So he's shaking off some of the rust. He's a cool horse. He already won once last year against a Preakness winner, no less, and Seize the Gray. So if he's at his best day, then Full Serrano could win. Chancer McPatrick and Citizen Bull, they're good. I mean, Citizen Bull likes Del Mar, but they wouldn't be my top choice. Why a Barrio, I don't think is a miler. I mean, he ran in the Met Mile. He's not done good either time. He won the Whitney. I think also, but it also might just be he's not a one-turn horse. Over 2 turns, he's better. He's a lot better, so he'll benefit from that. He did win the Ghost Zapper. So, he is more of a short router than he is a longer router. So, you take the good with the bad. But he would need to be on his best day to do this, And after the Pegasus, you gotta wonder, are his glorious days behind him? Has he finally been to the Wells many times? Mystic Dan, after winning the Lucas Classic, it'll be interesting to see what he does, but also all of his best efforts have been either at Oaklawn or Churchill. He seems to be a horse who doesn't really do his best anywhere else. It'd be cool if he won, and he certainly does have a lot of talent, but he is kind of a wishy-washy horse. If they try him in the Japan Cup dirt, I think it'd be a cool story, but I also think that, Mystic Dan isn't really a sandy runner. He's got speed, but at the same time, the Japan Cup dirt, I think, because of the sandy surface, I think he'd struggle. I think also the shipping would just be too much. So, I'd throw him out of the Japan Cup dirt. But, he may not even do that. The Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, if he's on his good day, he'll do good, but he's also such a flaky horse. Touch of Destiny. Ah, yes, the Uruguayan. Now, because Invisor was only Uruguayan raced and Argentine bred, that doesn't count. I don't think Uruguay has actually ever had a horse in the Breeders' Cup. Yeah, this is a first. So, that's ambitious. They picked a good horse. He's undefeated, pretty strong. But, like with other horses, I don't like when horses from other countries, especially for dirt racing specifically, for turf racing you can get away with more, it feels like, but history is basically being made just by him running. But the big thing is that for the when it comes to like South American horses, all the best ones were ones that got accommodated with the surface by running in races all year before they ran in the Breeders' Cup. The strike rate for horses making their first start in the Breeders' Cup on American soil is a lot lower. And the competition, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that the competition in Uruguay is not nearly as strong as it is in America. So his undefeated record, it's probably gone. If he wins, though, that would be a hell of a story. And that would open up the gateway for so many possibilities. I mean, this horse didn't make it into the Breeders' Cup, but the Goodwood Cup winner, I forget his name. It's like something Niemal. No Bien Niemal. No Bien Niemal, they already have plans to run him in the Dubai World Cup. I think that if he wins the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, or even just runs half decently, he could run the Pegasus. They could try him there. They could take him back to Uruguay and run him in their big race, although that's a mile and a half, so a bit far for him if they're running him in the Dirt Mile instead of the Classic. But the Pegasus could be open. The Saudi Cup could be next. They could take... I mean, Uruguay is not shy about running horses in the Mideast. But first he has to win this, and that's going to be tough. I mean, he's been training for a while, but I'd like him a lot more if he actually ran even in an allowance race before he came here, before he tried the Breeders' Cup. I mean, he's running against a defending champion, a Kentucky Derby winner, a freakishly fast horse, and a Breeders' Cup Classic winner, and a Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner. This race has 3 Breeders' Cup winners. Or, not the Breeders' Cup. Has 2 Breeders' Cup winners and a Kentucky Derby winner. And they aren't even the favorite to win. So, Touch of Destiny is a cool horse. But also being a 3-year-old and taking on older horses, and then the country barrier. Good luck. Good luck. That'll be a fun race, though. I look forward to that. But I would love to see Touch of Destiny just do well. Yeah, don't finish last. That's the big thing when you're a foreign horse. I mean, we have horses from Chile, Argentina, Peru, and Uruguay. I think Peru has the worst chance to do good. And I think after them, I think Argentina has the best with Chile and then Uruguay. Friday, Saturday, all day, pretty much. I think they start at, like, afternoon in the Pacific, at Pacific time. I'm not sure what time it'd be for you, but it's probably not all that different. Because, even though you guys are, so far down compared to California, you're in the same time region, technically, because it's straight down. Sort of. It's so weird how time zones work. Yes, I'm going to be there. For anyone curious, I am going to be volunteering to be at the Breeders' Cup. So I'll get to see all this racing live. So that'll be exciting. I'm not sure what'll come of it, though. There is no data to go off for the Breeders' Cup, but Uruguay has participated in Saudi Arabia and Dubai, and so far has yet to win much of anything. I mean, they have won before, I think. Um, but I'm not sure. It must have been a while ago. Like, they've brought strong horses. There was this horse named Sir Fever, who was a Triple Crown winner in Uruguay. And they ran him in the Albastakia en route to the UAE Derby, and he didn't really do very well. And we've seen horses win Uruguay's biggest race in January and then propel themselves to Saudi and not do well there either. NBC and Peacock are broadcasting them. FanDuel is broadcasting them. Twin Spires. But there is a Spanish broadcast of the race. I do know that. Here we are, international broadcast information. For Chile, ESPN and Disney Plus are your ways to go. So, hope that helps. I mean, we also do have our Discord server where we'll have people streaming the race. Yeah, I know, weird, right? So on my Discord server, people will be streaming the race if you want to watch it in a watch party. Also, Umacord is probably going to be watching it there if that's more your speed. But that's a little bit more of an informal way to watch it, and you have to watch it with others. So that's kind of some of the information to talk. So that's some of the things. I think there is one. What's the word? There might be one YouTube live stream, but it'd probably be illegal. So you just have to hope that no one catches wind. If the Discord thing sounds up your speed, here is a link. Yeah, here's a link right here for you. Have fun, have at it. I'll have to admit, I'm getting a little tired, and I'm getting really hungry, and I got other stuff to do. So that concludes this kind of Breeders' Cup stream. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for sticking around, for those who did. I might try to make a more formal video on the Breeders' Cup Classic. One last question, yes. It's not that. It's just that when you talk for 2 hours straight, your mouth gets dry, and when your mouth gets dry, you start to cough. I kicked a cold. I feel better. It's just that for some reason I still have a lot of snot building up, which does lead to a bit of coughing. And when you talk for 2 hours, you start to lose your voice a little bit. Citizen Bull, not directly. He's by Into Mischief out of a Distorted Humor Mare. So, no, but it's kind of just a coincidence. Besides that, pasta seems really good right now. Yeah, coughing and wheezing are some of the worst Pokemon. Better rest up. Yeah, and I also got 2 exams on Thursday that I'd rather jump off a cliff. But thank you all so much for being a part of this. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, you guys take care. See you guys next time.